Hi everybody, Mark here with Couch to Camino 2026, and guess what? We are 48 days away from liftoff. That's right, 48 days from being back on the Camino trail. This week we're going to be talking about restaurants and why restaurants are going to be different on your Camino experience than you're used to, in the U.S. and such. Shouldn't be a very long one, and I've got the lodging for Logroño to talk to you about, and some favorite stuff too. So let's get going. As always, if you have a question or comment, please leave them below, or you can email me at askmeacaminoquestion@gmail.com, and I will get back to you. Just want to warn you, if you're doing the Camino in September, there's a guy out there who emailed me to ask me some questions. And I made an off comment about if he was going to do something, just be warned the bus ride from one spot to another is really bad. And if you're prone to motion sickness, it's not a lot of fun. He sent me pictures of himself. He was a test pilot, so I don't think he'll be having much trouble, but be warned, the most interesting man in the world may be on Camino in September. So keep an eye out. And no, I'm not going to tell you his name or show you his picture because I don't want to get sued. So anyway, let's talk about a favorite thing real quick. Again, if you haven't watched the Spain on a Fork YouTube channel, please go over there and watch. He is covering so much stuff that you're going to see in Spain while you're on Camino. It's just such a great way to get an idea of the food you're going to be experiencing instead of it being such a weird surprise when you finally end up there. So, favorite thing this week, I'm going to go ahead and do it up front. It's this. See that? It's a stick. Trying to get it out of the sun or into the sun. That's a stick. This is licorice root. In Spanish, it's regaliz. It is just the root from underground that black licorice flavoring comes from. And you will see this at the little candy stores that are all over Spain. The major cities, the smaller towns even, will have little sugar shops that have lots of candy, lots of stuff to snack on. And you may see a little container of these brown sticks. Here's the thing, not uncommon that you'll see people walking around chewing on these sticks because there are some proteins in your saliva that interact with a chemical in this, and I don't know what it is, and the sweetness it produces is 2 to 3 times sweeter than table sugar. So you get the black licorice flavor, and it's incredibly sweet. It does help calm your stomach after a good meal. So you see people will leave a restaurant, go out walking around, they'll grab one of these licorice sticks and chew on it and suck on it a little bit, and it'll calm your tummy. And it is, if you're into black licorice, this is the purest it is, and this is fun stuff. Now, be warned, it's technically illegal to buy, or it's illegal for them to sell in Spain. Where did I get this? In Spain. A lot of the little mom and pop candy shops just don't care. The reason it's illegal is if you do consume a lot of this, apparently it can lead to some cancer issues in the GI tract. I don't know if that's true, but I've had a candy shop provider or purveyor sort of give me the lowdown on, you're going to get cancer if you're doing that. I'm not a doctor, but I suspect if you try it once, you're probably going to be okay. But, I love this stuff. It's also a great ingredient in some other stuff. Anyway, so let's do a very short TLDL, and then we'll get on to a ramble. So restaurants in Spain. While you're on Camino, okay, the day you're going to be in France and then into Spain, restaurant culture is very, very different in Spain and France than you're going to find if you're from the US and I suspect other places. The biggest things are, once you sit down at that table for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, that table is yours. The waiter or waitress who's taking care of you, they get paid very well by the hour. They're not paid by your tips. They don't care who sits in that chair for how long. And, you want to be polite and keep ordering drinks or a little bit of food and such if you're going to be there for a long time in the evenings. But they just don't care. They're not going to hassle you. They're not going to come over every 5 minutes to see how things are going to suck up for a tip because they're getting paid no matter what. So that leads us to point 2. Don't expect the same high level of service at the table that you see in the United States. Usually once they get your order, they get your food out to you, you're going to have to play a game of raising a finger or giving a little wave and asking for something. They're very cheerfully going to take care of you, but just realize they're not going to be checking on you constantly. That is especially true when it comes to the check. They will never just bring you the check. You have to ask for it. It's the first time my wife and I dined in France. We sat there forever, did not realizing we needed to ask for a check or anything. So it was a bit comical. But just be warned, you're gonna need to ask for the check. Tipping. Really, at the smaller places, if you get if you're there for lunch, you get a sandwich and a Coke. There's no tip expected. If you're there for dinner, a sit-down something with table service, maybe just round up €1 or 2 for, 20, 25 euro meal. It's just not expected to tip. And we were told when we were staying in France for a while that if you dine at a place multiple times and you tip normally, and then you do a big American tip, they'll come and ask you what the problem was, because it's not that you gave them a whole bunch of money is the problem. It's from their perspective, you've eaten here 4 or 5 times and you've left a normal tip, but then you left this giant tip, which to them says those other times there was something slightly wrong. And with the big tip, you're telling us we finally got it right. It's a little bit of a coded thing they told us about. I don't know if it's true or not, but just don't overtip. A little bit is fine. If you really want to tip some folks that make your life easier while you're on Camino, what I do is when I'm getting ready to leave an albergue in the morning or a hotel, any change that I have that's under a 50 cent a euro, the big 50-cent pieces, I don't keep. And most of the time, I don't keep the big 50 cent a euro pieces either. I only keep euros or the 2 euro coins. Anything else, I just leave in a stack on the table. If you're in an albergue, you can leave that loose change in a stack on the pillow. It's just a nice little something for the folks that are cleaning up after you, you filthy pilgrim. So, take care of them a little bit. That never hurts. So really, the last thing is be aware of opening hours are so different than what we're used to. Cafes and bars are going to open up probably 6 to 7, somewhere in there, where you can go get your cup of coffee and some breakfast if the albergue you're in doesn't have that for you. And the bars and cafes may stay open till lunch. They may not. The bars usually do. And then at lunch, say 11 to 1, you're going to be able to find some snacks and sandwiches and leftover tortilla and such from breakfast. And then there may not be a whole lot available except for bar snacks until fairly late in the evening, 7 or 8. So if you've got a long day, you're going to be tired when you hit the albergue at 6 or 7 o'clock, and you may not be able to eat till 8. Make sure at lunch you get a bocadillo, a sandwich, something that you can take with you, throw in your pack, in that spare Ziploc you've got, because I warned you about that. That way you've got a little something you can snack on while you're messing with your laundry or whatever. But if you go out for a beer or a glass of wine after you get done walking for the day, bar snacks are a thing. Get some olives, get some chips, get a little sandwich or something. So you'll get used to it. It's frustrating as heck for the first couple of weeks, but you're going to settle in just fine. And I know you guys. You're going to be great. So really, that's the TLDL. Just be flexible. Understand that the The culture, the times, the menus are vastly different from what we're used to, and it's going to take, like everything else in Spain, when you're on Camino, you're in an unfamiliar place. It takes the ability to adapt to it. So, approach it with a smile on your face. You're going to be just fine. So, that's about it for the TLDL. Let's go on to the ramble real quick. I haven't done one of these in, a couple of months? For better or worse. So let's expand on that stuff a little bit. Sorry, I'm getting back here. So the types of places, we've talked about this before. You've got bars, cafes, cafeterias, restaurants, fancy sit-down restaurants. You're going to find everything you want. If you want Michelin star dining, there's actually Michelin star in, I want to say Pamplona. I know there is in Pamplona. There might be one in Burgos. I think there might be one in Leon, but I know there is in Pamplona. So if you're into the high-end dining, you can find it. If you want to go to dingy bar and get pinchos for lunch or for dinner, you can do it. Or as you get further west, tapas. So really easy to find any scale of food you want. The biggest thing is understand that bars usually don't close. They may close in the early afternoon for siesta from like 1 or 2 to 4-ish. Not all the time. And particularly when you're on the main Camino trail from St. John to Santiago, most of those in the high season are going to stay open. In the off season, they may close here and there. Just, be flexible. Cafes, cafeterias, restaurants, those are going to be more definitely at lunch, definitely at dinner. Although things will be closed for no reason. When we were in Spain in 2022 for that hike, the 4 of us wanted to stop at a mountain village that I really like. Always had a good time there. And on the day we were supposed to go through there, the entire village was closed. Like the restaurants were closed, the albergues were closed, the bars were closed. There was nobody there. Like no humans at this mountaintop village. I have no freaking idea why it was closed. When we got down the other side of the mountain and asked folks when we had breakfast or had lunch at the next town, we asked them and they just shrugged and said, yeah, they close every once in a while. And we're like, who closes? They said, oh, the village. They all go somewhere. Like, where the hell do a couple of hundred people go? I don't get it. Anyway, so just be aware that things close. My friend Kelly says that the patron saint of Spanish is Saint Cerrado, Saint Closed. It's so many times we try to go somewhere and it would be closed for no reason. So I don't know. Just be flexible. You'll be fine. When you go to these places, your restaurants, this is a little more for, bars and restaurants. If you go up to the bar and get a drink, so you go up to the bar and you get a beer, it may be €2.50, whatever. If you sit down at a table outside on the patio on the terrace, it may be €3. They do charge a little bit of an upcharge for the waiters or waitresses to have to go out into the terrace patio and then come back. Usually it's really minor. It's so minor that I've never even really noticed it, and I don't know of a whole lot of people that have ever noticed it. So, hang on. My camera's being weird. Sorry. This thing just does its own thing every once in a while. So just be aware that you may see that additional charge from time to time. If you do, don't get too upset about it. They're not trying to rip you off. It's just part of that. And you'll see that in France as well. Now, that doesn't mean you can't grab your drink at the bar and go ahead and sit out at the terrace. They're not going to upcharge you 50 cents just because you did that. But if the waitress or waiter is taking care of you, it may add up. So just be aware of that. Not a huge deal. Let's talk about menus a little bit. Menus in Spain are kind of a different creature. So you've got 3-ish basic types of menus. Actually, let's call it 4. 4 is just bar top snacks. When you walk into the bars and restaurants that have a bar, you're going to see refrigerated cases full of food. You can just point and grab, pinchos, tapas, all of that sort of good stuff. You can just point and grab, and you can make it all the way through Spain on that. Lord knows I have. After that is a regular menu, where at lunch, maybe, and then in the evenings, it's going to be a menu full of all of the regular stuff that's coming out of the kitchen. Usually those menus in the restaurants, they may not hit until after 8 at night. Just be aware of that. If you're really looking for a larger, more substantial meal. Pilgrim's menus, which we've talked about before in the nutrition episode, Pilgrim's menus are going to be more, how do I put this? It's going to be more earlier than in the day. A lot of Pilgrim's menus are going to start somewhere around 4 or 5 o'clock and then go for a while, usually only in the busy time. I've never seen a Pilgrim's meal offered, doesn't mean they're not, but I've never seen one offered from like September through the cold months into April. It just seems like they don't mess with it for whatever reason. I'm going to drop you down again. Yeah, there we go. Scooch in a little bit. Usually the Pilgrim's meals are going to be, you get a starter, a main, and a little dessert. They're usually fairly expensive. They come with a bottle of water and a half a bottle of wine, usually for 20 euros or under, sometimes as cheap as 12 to 15 euros. The quality of the food can be great. Of those choices, you may have 3 starters, 3 mains, 3 desserts to choose from. You can mix and match, and sometimes you can, if you're heavily into the protein diet, you can ask for 2 mains and a dessert, or 2 starters and a main. You can play around with it a little bit, as long as if you get a large main twice, there may be a slight upcharge, but just, navigate that. You should be able to figure that out fairly easily. The other thing is called a menu del día, menu of the day, which is typically going to be a offering of 1 starter, 1 main, and 1 dessert, with a half a bottle of wine and a bottle of water. Reasonably priced, usually some pretty interesting stuff. A lot of kind of old school, good Spanish grandma and grandpa cooking. Those are really great. Those may show up at lunch occasionally, but there's going to be much more of those in the evenings for dinner. Really, I've had some great meals on the menu del día. It's kind of a holdover from what I understand from Franco, when they decided that everybody in Spain should be able to afford a meal out once a day that was good quality food, a half a bottle of wine at a reasonable price. And that's one of the things they have kind of held on to. Usually they're pretty darn good. I've always really enjoyed those. Let's talk about portions, because portions are weirdly different for a lot of what you're going to run into at the Spanish restaurants. So let's start from the smallest, go to the biggest. The smallest, of course, is going to be pinchos. Looks like that. A pincho is usually 1, maybe 2 bites of food, typically on a little piece of bread, a little chunk of baguette. Some of the soupier ones, like if you get some callos or stewed tripe or something like that, it's just going to be in a little bowl to eat. The pincho culture, it's a Basque food culture. You're going to see it from the Basque Country. They're near Saint Jean, all the way to somewhere between Burgos and Leon. It kind of peters out, and then you head into tapas territory. And explore the pinchos. There's all sorts of great things. By the way, here's a challenge for you. If you look at this picture, right there, there is a street art picture of a raccoon in Logroño. If you take a picture of yourself next to the raccoon and send it to me via, just email it to me at askmeacaminoquestion@gmail.com. I'm going to give you, I'll drop you a pin, a location of what I think is the best pincho restaurant in Logroño. And the great thing is, it's really hard for me to decide on what the best pincho restaurant is in Logroño. So, oops, sorry. My camera's being weird today. Sorry. So, actually, I'm going to send you to a restaurant that if you have a little something there and then you go right out the door, there's like 10 other pinchos restaurants right there, and they're all really good. But this one is my absolute favorite. So send me a picture of the you and then Mr. Mapache, the raccoon picture, that one, and I'll get you hooked up there. Just we'll do a little scavenger hunt in Logroño. So after pinchos comes tapas. Now you will see tapas on the menu in Basque Country as well. It's just a larger size. It's usually a plate of something that's meant for one person, my size, or two people to share. It's not a whole lot. Typically, you'll get 2 or 3 things to share at a table, and people are just kind of eating off each other's plates, and it's a whole lot of fun. Be warned that pinchos and tapas, it's really expected culturally that you'll have 1 or 2 things at a bar and then go across the street, have 1 or 2 things, go to another place, have 1 or 2 things. Pinchos or a tapas crawl, really popular way just to get out, get some fresh air, get some walking in, and just goof off and have a lot of fun. But again, a tapas is going to be enough for 2 people to share, usually. And, the plates are going to be fairly decent size. A guy my size, usually a tapas is enough for me. Sometimes I'll share with my wife. If she gives me puppy dog eyes, I'll go ahead and share with her. But frankly, that's one of the reasons I go on Camino by myself, so I don't have to share tapas and pinchos with her. Actually, that's not true. I've been begging her to go on Camino with me for years, but we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. Okay. Next step up, you have rations. So a ration of food in Spain is a giant plate of stuff. Here's a ration of vegetables. That was just grilled vegetables that we got at a pizza joint. It was enough for 4 people. A ration is a family-sized platter that's intended to be passed around a big group. Now you'll sometimes see these things come out like if you go to a restaurant and there's 4 of you and you all get salad, enchilada mixta, a mixed salad, a lot of times the waiter will just make one large one, a ration size of the salad, bring it out, and then you guys can just family style it onto your plates. That's really, really common. Be careful when you're ordering off the menu. If you've decided you want a little something extra, if you order a ration, it may be an enormous amount of food, an almost comical amount of food, because it's intended for 4, maybe sometimes 6 people if they've, it's a family that has a couple of kids with them or something. So just be aware of that. Now, there is something in the middle, a media, M-E-D-I-A, a media, a media ration. That's a half ration. It's usually good for 3 to 4 people. It's a great in the middle, and sometimes you may not see that on the menu columns. It may not say a media ration. Just ask for it, and they usually will just hook you up. Then they just charge you half. It's not uncommon. Families do it all the time, but and sometimes those media rations can be large as well, depending on what it is. Vegetables, like one of the favorite sharing at the table things is they have some amazing tomatoes during tomato season. They have amazing tomatoes. They will slice tomatoes pretty thick, dress them with Spanish olive oil and a really flaky Spanish sea salt. It's just fantastic. But the plates they bring you are the size of a platter you would put a Thanksgiving turkey on. They're giant. And I've accidentally ordered that for myself at times, and the waiter will just bring it out and put it down and grin at me. And I'm like, dude, you knew. So just be aware that sometimes the portions on the rations can be comical, but it's usually good food. And, feel free to share with people around you, even if you don't know the people. If you have a big plate of something you accidentally got and mixed, the cured meats and cheeses or the giant thing of tomatoes, whatever, just kind of laugh and offer it to the Spanish locals next. They'll love it. They may share some stuff with you. Make some friends, share some food. Let's talk about the end of the meal. Desserts, postres. Very different from America. Very, very different. Desserts tend to be very small. They tend to be not as sweet. You will see ice cream, sometimes weirdly churros. Honestly, I would stay away from restaurant churros. The best churros come from churro places. Just kind of best to stick with those. Mainly because you don't want churros that have been cooked in oil that's been used all day for cooking other things. I've had some churros that tasted like French fries, and it wasn't great. Fruit is very common. I showed you a few weeks ago the queso con membrillo, the queso or the cheese with the quince paste. Just a Spanish classic, which it's this. I'd really like you guys to all try that at some point when you're in Spain. It's one of my top 5 favorite foods. Absolutely amazing. But just be aware that the desserts are going to be smaller. A lot of times you just see fruit, and you'll get an apple or an orange on a plate, and it's just a little bit of sweet to end the meal with. Now, if you're in any of the major cities, plus a lot of the minor towns, they have these candy shops where people will go get a little something sweet to snack on after their meal if they didn't get enough of a dessert or whatever or they opted not to get a dessert at the restaurant. Also, ice cream. Man, Spain has great ice cream. There's one place in Logroño. There used to be 6 ice cream shops in about a 2-block area in the shopping arcades by the big cathedral in Logroño. I think they're down to 4. The last time I was there in 2024, I think there's only 4 ice cream places. But what's great is you can have ice cream for one place and look down the street and see the next place so you can go have ice cream. So if you're into ice cream, good place. Burgos, there's quite a few. Pamplona, there's quite a few. Burgos has a Hong Kong waffle stand where they make Hong Kong waffles, which if you've never seen it, it's like a sugar cone that has giant, look, it looks like that. I keep forgetting that this is a visual medium and I can show you pictures of a freaking Hong Kong waffle. So yeah, it looks like that. They dump ice cream in it for you and toppings, and wow. I've had it one time, and I swore if I ever had it again, I would get my ice cream and then just go eat it in the shower because it completely destroyed my beard and mustache. I ended up having to take a shower afterwards, and that's not a joke. I had chocolate sauce everywhere. It was embarrassing. Anyway, it's not, if you've been walking around town, you see an ice cream store, you see one of the little sugar shops, and you decide you don't want to get dessert at the restaurant, don't do it. Go ahead and get your bill. Go ahead and find a nice little sweet somewhere else. Completely expected. And walking around after dinner is sort of a Spanish tradition. So having a regaliz to chew on. I broke this, by the way, when I was goofing off. Having a regaliz to chew on, or not, or a little bit of candy of some sort. It's super popular. It's super fun. It's a great way to roam around and feel the life of the city, because after dinner, a lot of these cities just come alive, and it's a super fun time to be out. So go roam around a little bit. One last thing. I mentioned it before, but keep in mind that where you go in the mornings and at lunches, they will make sandwiches. They will make a tortilla, all that stuff. You can get it to go, para llevar. So they'll wrap your sandwiches in foil for you. You can throw them in your backpack, whatever it takes. Don't be afraid to get stuff to go from the cafes and bars at breakfast and lunch to tide you over into the evenings, because you may run into these oddball time issues. I usually try to carry a bocadillo in my backpack just in case, because I hike weird short days. I'm really trying to be done by about 2, maybe 3, depending on the length of the walk and the terrain, and if I'm feeling lazy. And I stop and take a lot of pictures, and I do a lot of touristy stuff along the way. So, yeah, I always pack a bocadillo and maybe a bag of chips or something with me, and an extra apple just in case to tide me over till dinner. And there's been a lot of times that, so for years, from Carrion de los Condes to Mauritanos, I've always dreaded that walk. It's not particularly hilly. It's not that bad, but I've always had a terrible time once I got to Mauritanos. It's a tiny little place, great albergue, great food, but I always feel just deathly ill when I get there. I've never figured out why. Yeah, it turns out that I screwed up the math in my Excel spreadsheet, and instead of walking 12 miles, I was walking 20 miles because I'm a big dum-dum. So, yeah, there's been a lot of times I was just too wiped to go down and get dinner. So I would just sort of go into goblin mode and eat a bocadillo and drink an Aquarius in my room and try to figure out why that one day was so bad. Now I know. And now I know I need to add an extra break in there because I'm old and I'm big. 20 miles is after that much many days on the road. That's too much for me. So anyway, that's about it for the restaurants and such. Now, we are going to, next week, the week after, and the week after. Next week, we're going to talk about breakfast. I'm going to fire up our kitchen there in the our kitchen building on the farm. I'm going to make you a whole bunch of the stuff that you're going to expect for breakfast. I will show you what an average pilgrim breakfast is going to look like, so you don't get shocked, because it's kind of weird. I'm going to do the same for lunches. Dinner's probably going to be more picture oriented. I may make a couple of things to share with you, but really breakfast and lunch is a little easier just because it's lighter food that's frankly easier and cheaper for me to deal with. So we'll get into that. I may do some pinchos for the lunch one. There's a few that I can cobble together here fairly gracefully, so we'll play around with that. I'm not going to touch desserts. You guys can figure that out when you're there. So that's about it for the restaurants. Let's talk about lodging. I promised you guys I would give you a breakdown of lodging for Logroño. Here's the thing. I've never stayed in a bunk bed in Logroño. I've always stayed in a private room or a hotel or something in Logroño for various reasons. I want to say the first time we were there literally wasn't a bunk bed available where we wanted to stay, and the other places we looked at had reports of bed bugs, so we weren't going to stay there. So we ended up getting a private room. When Clyde and I went in 2018, we ended up getting a private room because the bunk beds in the albergue were really short. I mean, I'm only 5'10", and it was almost, I had to like shorten my knees up, my legs up a little bit to fit. And Clyde, who's, I don't know, 12 feet tall, there was no way he was going to fit even diagonally. So we got a private room. And since then, I've just gotten private rooms at Logroño. But I'll give you my rundown of at least 3 places that I've stayed, from pretty good to okay. I really don't have a high-end place there because Logroño is sort of it's big, but it's a little bit of a working man's town. It's great. Logroño is a overlooked gem of the Camino. I love it. I always take a down day there. There's a lot to be said for it. And when you go from Viana into Logroño, you've crossed into the Rioja. You're walking through the vineyards. And if you're there in September, when the vineyards have changed, the whole of the Rioja is just gorgeous to walk through. It's by far my favorite section in the fall to walk through because it's so pretty. So let's talk about, let me give you 3 quick options for your lodging in Logroño. Number 1 is the Albergue Logroño. It is an M1A1 summer issue, great albergue. It's where Clyde and I stayed in 2018. We ended up in a room because the bunk beds weren't going to work. I have read on Wise Pilgrim that they have replaced the bunk beds with some reasonable size ones. It's clean. It's efficient. It's in a great location. It's only about 2.5 to 3 blocks away from the main Pincho neighborhood, plus a really good little shopping area. Just a lot of fun. It's a good neighborhood. Actually, all three of these places are in that same neighborhood. The next one up is the Hostel Numantina. I stayed there in 2020 and 2020. It's a little more quiet, but the rooms were great. Again, it's a block away from the Albergue Logroño. Definitely worth a look. I can't remember what the prices were. I looked it up on a Wise Program and I didn't write down the prices, but fairly reasonable. And again, in a great neighborhood. I really love it. I got a private room with a private bathroom. I think they have private rooms with shared bathrooms if you want to save a few bucks. Usually it's, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 euros cheaper if you want to go that route. In 2024, when I was there, I stayed at the Ibis Budget Logroño Center. And I was one of the first 5 people ever to stay in that hotel. It was literally opened the day before I got there. And unfortunately, the air conditioning wasn't working. And I was there in September, and man, it was hot in Logroño. So they gave me a free night. I was there for, I had a bunch of extra time that year. So I was staying 2 nights in Logroño, or staying 2 full days, off days in Logroño, because it was so hot and there was no air conditioning. And I was on the top floor. They gave me one of the nights for free, which I thought was very sweet of them. Ibis is a big chain throughout Europe. We've used them in other parts of Spain. We've used them in France. They're modern. They're clean. They're efficient. They're not terribly expensive. It's not a pricey place. They are a budget hotel, but good, clean, reliable, great water pressure. Definitely worth a look if you want a nice little treat. Pretty decent breakfast. Breakfast came with the room, so if you're into that, not a bad thing to do. There was a 4th one. I wanted to recommend the apartment that we rented in 2022 when it was the 4 of us. We stayed in an apartment that was a block away from the Museum of the Rioja, which, please go to the Museum of the Rioja in Logroño, home of the infamous chicken bench. You'll know it when you see it. That apartment was spectacular. We had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. I think Clyde or Jake slept on the couch. No, it was a 4-bedroom apartment. So we had 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a balcony that overlooked the main plaza there by the little mini plaza there by the Museum of the Rioja. It was fantastic. I can't find any listings for it now. I don't know if it's an actual Airbnb anymore. Spain did a giant crackdown on Airbnbs just in the past couple of years. If you're going to do an apartment, I recommend going through booking.com. They actually check the licensing on private rentals like that. Airbnb very famously does not. They don't care, in my opinion, hypothetically. Don't sue me. So if you are looking for an apartment in Logroño, and really, I've said this before, if there's 4 of you or more, say 3, 4, 5, whatever, there's a lot of times you can rent an apartment cheaper than you could all go sleep in a bunk bed. So really kind of bounce that, particularly if somebody's willing to crash on a couch or something. Man, it's so nice having an apartment for a down day or something. So anyway, that's the stuff for Logroño. Remember, look for Mr. Mapache in Logroño and email me that picture at askmeacaminoquestion@gmail.com, and I will send you my favorite pincho bar in Logroño. And arguably outside of Gaucho in Pamplona, I think it might be some of the best pinchos for my American palate anywhere in Basque Country. Basque Country along the Camino Frances. not going to say San Sebastian or Bilbao because they will drive here and kill me if I say that. So anyway, that's about it for this week. Yeah, 40 minutes, just like usual. Next week we'll talk about breakfast on the Camino, and I will put out a bunch of food, and we'll see how it goes. So anyway, thanks guys, I really appreciate it. Remember to give this a like. It really does help. The ones you guys have liked a lot have gotten pushed out, and a lot of people have gotten to see them, and I'm thrilled to death by that. Remember, I'm never going to make a cent off this. This is just me babbling at a camera for therapeutic reasons. But anyway, thanks guys, and I will see you next week.